Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our April 21st board meeting. Please let me know if you can hear me online. Can you hear me online, Trustee Dalton?
Pardon me?
Just making sure that you can hear me online.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. I would love to pass this to Trustee One to acknowledge the beautiful lands that we reside on.
And I'd like to thank and respect the Tsimshian peoples whose traditional territories we gather today to hold this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. And before I pass this, before I call for adoption of the agenda, I would also love for us to just remind all of ourselves why we are here and why we do what we do. And it is for every single student that we have in our district. So thank you all very much. And I would like to call for a adoption of the agenda.
Trustee Dalton?
Thank you. I have Trustee Sanchez, seconded by Trustee Dalton, and all in favor? Great, so moved. And I will pass this to you, Andrew Samuel.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Today we are grateful that we have three presenters. We have Kate Lyon, Aaron Trask, and Nicole Boutin to be presenting on literacy endeavors going on in our schools.
Let's go.
It's all yours, Drew.
You like us? Wherever you like. Can we be over here?
Yep.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, you can say I can't see you. I need to see you. I'm sure that makes the public as well. Here we go. I return. Well, let's begin.
Amma Upal. Good evening, everyone. My name is Kate Lyon, and I'm the literacy coordinator at Conrad School. I am also a district teacher librarian at Conrad and Pine Ridge School.
I'm Erin Trask, and I am the literacy coordinator at Lahane, and I also teach kindergarten at Lahane.
And I'm Nicole Boutin, and I'm the literacy coordinator at Roosevelt, as well as the learning services teacher.
We are very grateful to have this opportunity to share some of our stories and some of our learning from the past few months. And thank you very much to Lori Berger for inviting us to tonight's board meeting. Thank you.
So just as learning to read is a lifelong journey, so is learning to teach reading. This quote spoke to us because it really does feel like a journey, and there's always more for us to learn. My path to shifting literacy practices began almost a decade ago. I realized that what I learned in my pre-service teacher training program did not equip me with the knowledge to adequately teach foundational literacy skills. I knew that I had to change my instruction, and so I set out to learn everything that I could. Some of you may remember that I presented to the board in January 2022 to share what literacy looked like in my kindergarten classroom. Shifting my practice has been extremely rewarding. Learning to read isn't a natural process, and as adults, it's easy to forget how we learned how to read. However, I am grateful to have the privilege of witnessing children begin their journey to become lifelong readers and writers. We'd like to show you just a short clip of a kindergarten student from our district who was just beginning his journey, and it perfectly demonstrates the effort, the pride, and the joy of learning how to read.
So if you go back and hover over on the lower part of that picture, you'll see the little play button over there. Yep.
Thank you. Okay, we can go to the next slide. Thank you. Before we highlight what we have been up to here in SD 52, it's important to provide some context as to why we're doing what we're doing. In April 2024, Premier Eby announced additional funding for kindergarten to grade 12 literacy supports, and this carved the path to universal screening to help educators identify and understand student needs And a lot has happened in the last 2 years, but in order for all of us to understand why the BC announcement was made, we'd like to provide an even bigger context.
Next slide, please. Let's go back to the 1990s and the 2000s. In several English-speaking countries, literacy rates were on the decline. The United States, Australia, and England all launched national reviews to try and understand the issues, as well as to start problem solving. In addition, the Progress in International Reading Literacy Study, also known as, thankfully, PEARLS, determined a worrying downward trend in British Columbia beginning in 2006, and it's been on the decline ever since. In more, next slide, please. In more recent years, the experiences of students, families, and educators prompted 3 Canadian Human Rights Commissions to conduct large-scale reviews of reading instruction. These human rights inquiry reports have sparked change across all of Canada and the approach to teaching reading. Ontario's Human Rights Commission was first, which laid the foundation for other provinces and territories. Saskatchewan and Manitoba followed suit and released their reports in 2023 and 2025. A major shift across Canada is the use of universal screeners. And this was a recommendation from all 3 of these human rights inquiries. Almost all provinces and territories in Canada have made public commitments to adopt that recommendation. And with some provinces, including British Columbia, we are phasing in screening over the next few years. The yellow check mark on the map indicates that British Columbia is on its way and is investing in Canadian research by creating its own universal screener, which is to be ready for implementation in 2027.
Wow.
In the last 5 years, almost every province and territory has revisited the approach to teaching early literacy and are updating curriculum and providing instructional guidance to focus on foundational literacy skills. Next slide.
So let's come back to the present and see what BC has been up to. In 2025, the Ministry of Education and Childcare provided each school district with a professional learning grant to be used to build capacity and to support all educators and families in learning about evidence-based practices and using universal screeners. We are really excited that the ministry is working with Canadian researchers to develop a screening tool that is more reflective of our learners here in British Columbia. In the meantime, districts are implementing screening for all kindergarten children this school year using an existing evidence-based tool.
Next slide. So let's bring all that together and we can see what it looks like for our context here in School District 52. Back in September, the literacy team met and we made the decision that while the province had only mandated universal screening for kindergarten, we chose to screen kindergarten and grade 1 students. And we are using Acadience as our universal screener. Acadience has both English and French screening measures, which honors all our students in our district, including our French immersion families. And while BC has not yet fully updated its curriculum, the ministry has made a commitment to shift instruction to align with evidence. And last June, the Ministry of Education and Childcare released a new document. You can see it on the screen. It's called the Kindergarten to Grade 4 Foundational English Language Arts Learning Progressions.
Wow.
And this was a very lengthy process that incorporated many opportunities for teachers around the province to provide feedback. We all did. And this document is the final result. So we're really excited about this instructional guidance tool, and it has been shared widely in our schools.
And there's also a French version being developed right now. It's currently in field review. So a group of French immersion teachers, and I'm lucky to be one of them, is connecting with the ministry to review feedback that they received from educators all over BC.
Next slide, please. All the work that is happening in our province is reflected in the work we are committed to here in School District 52. Our strategic plan outlines 3 priorities: equity, eliminating the achievement gap for students, and we do this by focusing on foundational skills and early literacy. Truth and reconciliation, we honor identity and culture, and we equip children with the skills to be competent and confident readers. This is a call to action. Mental health literacy, we continue to recognize the importance of health and wellness of our students, and that includes maintaining academic rigor. Learning how to read and write supports all of these priorities. And when we connect the First Peoples principles of learning to all of us that are on this path, it will involve patience and time. It will include reflection, experiential learning, relationship building, and the continued well-being of the self. It will also involve recognizing the consequences of our actions.
The 3 of us have learned so much over the last 8 months, so we're excited to highlight some of the literacy team's good news stories. And we can switch slides. The first highlight is, as Kate mentioned, we decided to go beyond the expectations of the ministry and include kindergarten and grade 1 students in universal screening, which provided us with solid data and gave us a head start in building capacity here. We completed the online Acadience training that helped us build shared understanding in our school teams. And in December, we launched a monthly newsletter called Anchored in Literacy, which includes personal stories from educators who are shifting their literacy practices, Canadian resources, materials, and extensions for learning. And we just want to do a shout out to all the teachers who sent in pictures and shared stories with us about their learning. And finally, we have also successfully gathered both data for beginning and middle of year screening, which was forwarded to the district leadership team before the spring break.
And in January, we planned and facilitated a professional development session at Conrad School. It was a little overwhelming, but very encouraging to have a lot of interest, and actually so much interest that we had to change the venue from the library to the gym to be able to accommodate the number of participants. And I believe there were 52 educators in attendance.
Next slide, please. Just a few more highlights before we wrap up. We are thrilled to be welcoming Dr. Una Malcolm to School District 52. She is flying in tomorrow from Toronto. Dr. Malcolm is one of Canada's leading experts in reading development, and we are very, very grateful. We were successful in booking her back in December before the break, and she will provide a full day of learning for our professional development day, which is Friday, and everyone is encouraged and invited to attend. We also have Dr. Una Malcolm presenting at the local public library on Thursday this week. And she will be providing a presentation about reading development and how parents and families can support their children. It's open to everyone, and this is Thursday at the library at 7 o'clock. And one final note, we really would like to honor and celebrate and recognize one particular teacher, Ms. Patty Stone, grade 3 teacher from Conrad School. She, along with her team, have been featured in a video series that is available to everyone called Reading Reels. And this project is from the Pop Art team. And in this reading reel, Ms. Stone, as well as the team from Conrad, share their story as to how they are shifting literacy practices and really modeling what that professional learning looks like. So part 1 is available, is about a 9-minute video, and part 2 will be available at the end of the school year. Next slide.
Screening is not the solution, it's the start. So I think we can acknowledge that we have started, but we do have some mountains to climb, and we know that the path will be bumpy at times, but we do need to keep moving forward. Looking ahead, the professional learning grant extends for another year ending in June 2027, which allows us some time to develop our shared responsibility in ensuring equitable outcomes in reading and writing. And in September, we will be implementing universal screening to include students from kindergarten to grade 3, which means school teams will be expanding to include more classroom teachers in the screening process, as well as in problem solving. And we are very much looking forward to the BC Universal Screening Tool, which will hopefully be ready in September 2027. It will be piloted around the province beginning this September.
Next slide, please. Investment in early reading significantly reduces the social and economic costs of low literacy to the individual, their family, and society as whole. It also improves equity outcomes.
And that's a quote from the Right to Read Inquiry Report, the Ontario Human Rights Commission. Thank you very much for having us. We are really passionate about the work that we are doing, and we're very grateful this opportunity to share our stories, to share our learning, and to build relationships. So thank you, Messi.
Thank you.
Bring a hard copy of the most recent Anchored in.
It's one of my favorite
newsletters.
emails.
Maybe I'll pass that along
Thank
to
you.
Louisa and you can even take a
Wonderful.
copy.
Any questions, comments? Trustee Horn.
Thank you for that. Couple of things. One, you said at the end there, the screening to advance to grade 3. Is that thought that it will continue permanently at that level?
The Ministry of Children and Childcare is mandating K-3 screening, but it's the responsibility of the district to make decisions for our community. And so there is potential to expand. Acadians Reading, I think, has goes to grade 6.
Okay.
Yeah, and there are other screeners that go beyond, and other communities are already doing that. Yeah.
Perfect, thank you. Also, I made a couple of notes here. For one thing, when at the beginning, educators willing to learn, seeing the benefits, expressing your pride and joy in what you're doing. All of you did that today. So thank you very much for showing that to us. It's fantastic to hear that BC is progressing with the universal screening. We've heard for a long time how it's always been a hindrance for not being able to do that, right? So it's fantastic that they're doing it and will be much helpful to our students. And I also would want to note that you tied yourself into the strategic plan and how the district wishes to proceed, and the fact that you're working within that. So thank you very much for that.
Any other questions, comments? Trustee Sanchez?
I have a comment, and I want to congratulate you for people there, and I know that you are doing a good job. I could recall doing the same thing that you were doing when I was there as a teacher myself. And I have to tell you that there are many times I would really want to go into the schools and help. Unfortunately, I couldn't. I used to go, but I was told that I couldn't go in to help because the union thought that I was taking away job. And I had to tell you, when that happened, I cried because that was my expertise, teaching children how to read. And I still think about it today, but I know with you there and you there, and I think you're there, I know you're doing a good job, and I really appreciate the work that you're doing, because if you don't have it at the beginning, you have great difficulty at doing it. So thank you, and I know with your expertise that those kids are going to learn. Thank you for the good job that you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you. I have Trustee Dalton.
I just wanted to say bravo, congratulations, outstanding work. I've had the great privilege to be at one of your last meetings. It was so wonderful, such awareness. Just keep up the good work. We're just going to support that till the end, until we conquer that. Thank you for your effort.
Please, Trustee Meyer.
Yeah, I'm very happy that the screening is K-3, and that's starting next year, correct? Did I get that right? Okay, perfect. And the foundational literacy I mean, I ran to
The
you.
K4 document?
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
let's call it that.
Yes, I ran to you when my daughter needed help reading, and within just a couple of weeks, it was like a transition I had never seen before. And so it sticks in my head how important it is on how we instruct our kids to read, and how amazing teachers will come in and build and mentor and teach other teachers, and our kids end up benefiting the most. And so just thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And it's that grounded in relationship piece that I think is foundational as well.
Yeah, thank you, thank you.
I want to thank you all so much for your presentation, and the part that always stands out for me the most, and I can feel that getting choked out, is just the pride, joy, connection, and in that little one, you know, like to be able to make sense of what these letters are in front, and just to learn from a place of being held, as opposed to some of us growing up may have learned from a completely different place of not being able to get it. And so just the way you can feel the energy of the flip of that little one, that like, this says a red rug and here's a red rug, like just how exciting. And so thank you so much, because we do this for that. And so to see that is just incredible. So thank you, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Wonderful. We can move to approval of the minutes of 3.1, the open board meeting held on March 10th, which is for the board. Trustee Sanchez. Seconded trustee Horn. Thank you. All in favor? So moved. And 3.2, approval of the minutes of the special open board meeting held on March 25th. Moved trustee Beal, seconded trustee Horn. All in favor? Great. So moved. Thanks. And item 4, necessity of closed meeting and agenda. Trustee Horn?
Move 4.1 through 4.9.
Seconded. Trustee Sanchez, all in favor? So moved. Correspondence, 5.1, addressed to the board, none, and 5.2, up to the board, none. Superintendent of Schools report, Andrew Samuel.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item 6.1.1 enrollment, and for this, I turn things over to our Director of Instruction, Carla Work, to share with us.
Thank you, Superintendent Samuel and Madam Chair. I'd like to direct your attention to page 10, where you'll see the enrollment graph, including the enrollment numbers for March, which are at 1775, up from 1764 in February.
Any questions?
Just happy to see it go up.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you.
Next, Madam Chair, item 6.1.2, upcoming projects, learning and other items. Of course, you know, my favorite saying, which is there's a lot going on in our schools every day, and in the past few weeks, there's no abatement of those activities. For example, Conrad students welcomed their Roosevelt pen pals on April 10th. Other field trips around the district have included spending the day at Butsy Rapids, visiting Acropolis Manor, and the PRMS band trip to Terrace at the Pacific Northwest Music Festival. On May 10th to 14th, 10 students and 3 staff from Pacific Coast School are going to attend the Inspire Soaring Indigenous Empowerment Conference in Halifax.
Wow.
It's a very positive event, full of Indigenous leaders, inspiration, musical guests, and access to a wide range of opportunities. The trip was fully funded by Inspire. And for some students, this will be the first time on a plane, and the staff are helping students prepare in advance for this travel. Last week, grade 10s to 12 student learning survey and the core competency self-assessments were completed. The provincial student learning survey collects valuable feedback from students, parents, and guardians, and school staff on school environment, safety, and achievement. The results help guide school districts and the province in planning. Grade 4 students will also complete the student learning surveys. This week, provincial assessments for Numeracy 10 and Literacy 10. Also, any missing grade 12 assessments are being completed. earlier this month, Specialized Science had the opportunity to join James and Harvey Russell with Boots Reconnection for their experience of fishing, throwing crab pots, and observing the herring spawn. Spring sports are off to a start despite the snowy field conditions. You wouldn't know it today looking outside, but we did have snow not too long ago. The season began. Charles Hayes students will be fielding girls soccer, track and field, girls and boys rugby, and golf. This week, student-led conferences and scholastic book fairs are going on at all of our elementary schools. The Gitwas Strumming Group has visited all elementary schools now. They have been performing in the gyms for the entire school all at once. Charles Hayes grade 12 students have been working on scholarship and bursary applications. Long forms have been handed out to these students to complete the commencement eligibility checklist. Soon it will be commencement time. Tomorrow, Wednesday, April 22nd, is Earth Day. Some classes are completing research projects and then creating displays of the material that they found. There's a community framework meeting on Thursday, April 23rd here in this room at the Booth Building at 3:30 p.m. And finally, early learning and childcare. Susan Kobza has prepared the following. Ready, Set, Connect, formerly known as Ready, Set, Learn, will take place at the end of April at 2 elementary schools, École Roosevelt Elementary School on April 28th and Lahane Elementary School on April 30th. The format has changed to include 2 sessions rather than 5 sessions, with the goal of increasing participation of families with 3- and 4-year-olds. There will be more exploration stations available, which will include yoga with Mandy Lawson.
Yeah.
And lastly, Port Edward Child Care Program is progressing along with obtaining the license required to operate and receive final approval from the District of Port Edward to complete a minor reservation to the classroom. Scheduled opening is set for September 1, and the program will accommodate 18 children ages 30 months to 5 years, not 30 years. 30 months to 5 years. And Madam Chair, that is my report.
Thank you. Wonderful. Any questions, please, Trustee Morris?
I just have one. The student surveys, the high school and the grade 4s, did the answers to those surveys go into the framework meeting? Or what happens to the answer? What happens?
Madam Chair,
Yeah.
and yes, so the framework meeting will include the data from the student learning surveys. Sometimes that data is not compiled and masked in time for the framework for this year, and so we include it in the next year. So often with that particular set of data, we're working a year behind.
Okay, all right, perfect. Thank you.
Good. Any other questions? Seeing, thank you for your report.
Madam Chair.
Secretary Treasurer's report.
Thank you. So if you go to your package on page 11, you have your 2 regular statement of operations reports for the month of March. Or sorry, the year to date as of March 31st. So the first one, I'm just going to quickly go through some of the variances there. So you'll see in the teachers variance, there is a variance of 38,000. That is a difference than if you were to compare it to February's. Part of the reason for that is we did pay out the labor settlement in March. So the increase there has been paid out, and that was retroactive to July 1st, technically 2025. So that is what you're seeing there for the big change compared to the prior month. And I just want to note also in regards to that, it is funded through the ministry, but as of March 31st, we haven't received the funding yet, so you're not seeing that offset in the revenue side of things. And then going down, you will also see a change in the principals and vice principals compared to prior month, and that was just a change done to the year-to-date budget. So this is what we believe is a more accurate picture of the variance of the year-to-date. EAs, it was previously mentioned in other meetings as well. So the over expenditure there, we are looking at moving that over to community link special purpose funds. And then support staff and other professionals, that's pretty consistent with the prior month. Substitutes as well. Part of that is also because of the increase that I mentioned in regards to teachers. And then another part of that also to take into consideration is spring break happened in March as well, so less TTO coverage there. And then I do always, when I'm going through this, just to bring you back to that second report as well. I do still like this report, just because it gives a good overall picture. So you will see the grand total line, on the very bottom right-hand corner. We do have 30% of our budget remaining, which is on track, as I know trustee Horn will ask next. So for the 10-month expenses, for the rest of the year, 12-month expenses 25%. So us staying at 30% is comfortable. Any questions?
Trustee Horn.
Thank you for answering my question about 30%. So
Proactively,
yes, that's excellent. And it's good to see the staff working hard and planning for those type of things. Also good to see with the knowledge that our budget is going to be tighter and tighter in the upcoming years, that you're able to scrimp and save and get a deficit down below where it was expected to be. So thank you for your hard work for all the staff that we have.
Thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none. Moving on to agenda item 7.2, 26-27 annual budget. So we're just going to share a presentation. Okay, so at today's meeting, we're focusing on discussing ministry funding and proposed budget changes and assumptions. So on our agenda today, I will start off by saying it looks like a long agenda. The top 5 items we have gone over in the past, so we're just going to quickly go over them again today and not go in detail. So those first 5 we'll zip through, and then we'll focus on the second portion. Yeah. So we just want to keep in mind of our strategic plan priorities, which is equity through the elimination of achievement gap for pre-K to 12 students, truth and reconciliation, strengthening our commitment to truth and reconciliation, and mental health literacy, building capacity for mental health literacy for students, staff, and families. And then the budget timelines. Let's see. So we just wanted to show you where we're at, that yellow star. So our ministry funding was announced mid-March. And then today we are discussing a very draft where we're sitting at currently with the preliminary budget for next year. And then in May, we will do the readings. Next time. And then just a reminder of our current schedule for our ABC meetings. So today we're at the April 21st. And our next meeting currently scheduled is on the May 19th meeting at the regular open board meeting. And then I just want to keep in mind, so our budget is based off of 3 separate funds. So we have the operating funds, the special purpose funds, and the capital funds. And this slide we've gone over in the past too, so we're not going to go over it in detail, but we just wanted to remind you that this was actually a BC ASBO update. Just a reminder that the challenges that we're currently facing are province-wide and not just our school district. And this is some of the 26-27 budget pressures. So again, we went over this at prior meetings. We just wanted to bring it up again here.
And if you just want to share what BC is.
Yes. The abbreviation for BC ASBO is the BC Association of School District Business Officials. This slide too, so this is showing our draft 3-year preliminary enrollment projection. So you will see that it is projected that over the next 3 years, we are going to continue seeing a decrease in student enrollment. And this slide is just showing you the supporting numbers to support that graph on the prior slide. And so you will see that there's a decrease there, for example, in 26-27. of 44 student FTE, 27, 28, 54 FTE, 28, 29, 75.
So could you just explain that for anyone in the audience who might be new to what this means for our district?
Yeah, perhaps if you want to go to the next slide. So what that means for our districts, our school districts in general. A large portion of our ministry operating grant is based off of student enrollment. So when we see that student enrollment decline, it does affect our operating grant, so the funds that we receive from the ministry. And this slide here shows you what that looks like in terms of dollars. So what this slide is showing you is just focusing on the impact due to enrollment drop, the change that we're seeing in the ministry grant for next year. So that first column is showing the current year, the 25-26 amended budget. And then the next column is showing the 26-27 preliminary budget figures, and then the decrease between the two. And then the column after that is the rate per FTE. And then what that looks like in terms of the funding decrease.
So if I could interrupt, could you go back to the past slide? So just to share it with everyone, this is in millions, right? This base funding, this impacts us in the millions. Is that what that represents?
That's like student FTE.
So variance of 54 equals
Student FTE, right?
base funding. Yeah, great. So your slide is much better for explaining. Thanks. You can proceed. So just for clarity for us, what we look at when we look at budget, if you just see our amended budget as opposed to the preliminary budget for next year, looking at the declinement, which leads to a funding decrease of 378,630 for our district. And then as Brittany shared, if you move all the way down, adding everything that affects, we're looking at a deficit, like looking at finding $481,000 or finding where we can take that out of our current budget.
Yeah, so just to add to what Kate was adding, so that's, you can kind of think of that as a starting point. So already right off the bat, just based off of student count, we have 481,000 less in funding.
And with your expected decline in enrollment, this is likely to happen again next year
Years.
and the year after that.
Yes. Any other questions before we move on from that slide? So moving on to 26-27 preliminary budget overview. So what we're doing here, and again, I just want to say that this is drafts at this point. So what this slide is showing is we're showing the current year 25-26 amended budget. Big categories, so just showing revenue, expenses, capital, and surplus. And then under that, we're showing our draft changes that we're proposing for the 26-27 preliminary budget. So again, these are just broad categories at this point. So we're just going down the list. Enrollment change. So that again is due to student FTE count and how that affects our ministry funding. So in there, we're seeing a decrease of 407,000 in revenue. And then the next row is the labor settlements. So that at this point, we're assuming that is going to be funded through the ministry. The reason that you're seeing the difference there and the net isn't zero on the far right-hand side. So the expenses is 76,000 over the revenues. That is because at this point, we are unsure if we are going to receive ministry funding to cover the exempt principals, vice principals, and trustee wage increase. So all the other categories are included in the funding at this point. And just because that's unknown, we haven't included that here for today's purpose. The cost and revenue pressures, so that's including various things. So at this point in time, it's including things for services and supplies, for example, of cost increases or decreases that we know at this time. And again, sorry, just to clarify too, so what all these numbers are showing is just a change between the current year and next year. So it's not totals, it's just a change between the 2 years. And then also in the cost revenue pressures, you will see a number there for the capital transfers. So what that is referring to, if you go to the top row, the 25-26 amended budget, you'll see that $350,000 there. Just a reminder for everyone, that is in regards to our ERP system software upgrade that we are doing in the current year. So next year, that will not be included in our costs. So that's why you see that change there. The difference is what you can see at the very bottom is 60,000. And so that at this point in time, we have included 60,000 to be budgeted for a new vehicle for our maintenance department. And then under that is the benefit rate changes. So currently what that number represents is our increase that we know of at this time for CPP, EI, and WCB. What's not currently included in there is any change in our extended health benefit, just because it's unknown at this time. We're still working with our provider on that. And then the row below that is Indigenous education. So part of this is last year we started receiving new funding for our Indigenous Education Council development. So what the intention of that was to provide extra funding for us to develop this council. With the expectation this was short-term funding just to get the development started. And in the third final year, which is next year, there's actually a large decrease, so about 50,000 less that we will be receiving next year compared to the current year. And then that last column on the bottom is staff changes. So this is the various changes amongst the different categories of staff. At this time, again, just draft figures, we're still working through everything. So part of that is we're still working on enrollment and classroom needs. So big picture, if you just go back. So we're just looking at the bottom row, the 26-27 preliminary budget. So we are looking at a $786,000 deficit. And again, just a reminder, so this is showing you the changes. So if you go to the very top, 25-26, in the current year, we did have a $744,000 deficit. So not too much change for what we're projecting for next year. Next. Sorry, any questions regarding that before moving on?
I just have one clarifying, if you can scroll back. Under the labor settlement, so the 76,000 and the benefit rate changes, the 46,000. Could there be a government, like, would they step in, or are we hoping that they're stepping in to pay for those changes, or we know for sure that they're not going to?
So the benefit rate changes, no, so that's just regarding CPP, EI, and WCB.
Okay.
That is not expected to be funded. The labor settlements, we are unsure at this time.
But we're hoping.
We are hoping,
Okay.
yes.
Trustee Horn?
Thank you. And in the benefit rate changes, you spoke about medical with not knowing the amount, but it would be expected to have a percentage increase
At this
in
time,
cost is what we would expect, but not knowing yet.
yes,
We haven't put it in there,
yes,
but that would be expected to come later.
yes.
Thank you.
All right, moving on. So next we're gonna move on to surplus. We want to just start off with this slide. You will see it's last year's 24-25 accumulated surplus. Just because we wanted to start off with our actuals. So this is actually a note in our audited financial statements of the prior year. And what we just wanted to point out here is what our starting point is. So our unrestricted operating surplus is that amount circled there of 1.9 million.
I think too, for clarity, to add in that 1.9, that's still $1 million that is being carried over from the money we got back that was originally put out for PMS. Fair?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's spent already, yeah.
Right, so $1 million was much more actually was spent for PRMS, the preliminary work, and we were doing the work of superintendent somewhere, we were able to get $1 million back from that. So that is not money that we were sitting on, it was money that was coming back. Thank you.
Yeah, just to add to that, thank you, Kate. It was that 1.055 million, was originally spent out of our operating funds. And then, yes, we were able to get that, recoup that back from the ministry, and that is why we are sitting on that more recently. So it hasn't been sitting there for a significant period of time. And then here, so that's where is our starting point. So our ending balance as at June 30th, 2025 is that 1.9 million that you saw on the other slide. And so I just want to state again that we're just talking about unrestricted surplus here. And then so what we are budgeted for currently for the current 25-26 year is a deficit of 744, which we also saw 2 slides back. And then so what that means is that we're currently budgeting to have an ending balance at June 30th, 2026 of 1.1 million left in our unrestricted surplus. And then currently for our draft 26-27 preliminary budget, our deficit, which we had on the prior slide as well, is that $786,000 deficit. So if we are sticking with that number, the draft ending balance at June 30th, 2027 next year, that would leave us with $368,000 left in our unrestricted surplus.
Questions, Trustee Horn?
So if we progress this forward, our surplus policy asks us to keep 440,000 aside, but we're already only sitting at 368, and next year we will hit again for the following year another quite large deficit. So at that point, we will be faced with some heavy pressure on our budget, quite heavy.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments?
What I would also offer is 2027, right, with say 368,000, and then we're looking at a possible deficit again of 700,000, which means we're now in arrears of 400,000, knowing that again, the following year, we're looking at another 700 and something thousand reduction. Please.
And then we wonder why our current funding model doesn't serve our kids.
Current
Just gonna throw it out there.
funding model does not serve us at all.
No.
Thank you, Brittany.
This slide is just showing you our possibilities. So the things that we're considering and always continuously looking into. So we're always looking at taking a closer look at our special purpose funding and how we can utilize that. Also for additional grants, additional sources of revenue, for example, our commercial kitchen, property maximization and leases. So as the board and the public knows, we've spent a lot of time on that this year as well and are continuing to do that work to try to increase our revenue in that source of funding. Potential reductions and international students. So next steps. So again, as I mentioned in the beginning of the meeting, our next currently scheduled meeting is May 19th, and that is in the regular open board meeting. And then we just want to send a reminder as well. That we do still have that public input online survey available. So that is available on our district website, rupertschools.ca. And the submission for that is April 30th. Any additional questions or comments?
Please, Trustee Horn.
Maybe what I should say is ask about that online survey for the public to use. Is it's open to all members of our community?
Yes.
Correct? I
Absolutely.
wanted to reinforce that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I also want to say that I know our, the people in our district are always looking at grants. special purpose grants come with some pretty definitive direction as to how you can spend the funds. They also require a lot of reporting to be done. So just the direction of the ministry into how they're doing funding is really directive with a lot of reporting. So that I think that's important to be stated as well. Thank you.
Thank you. 7.3, 26, 27 minor capital bylaw. So that is on page 13 of your package. We do have Kevin in the room if you have any questions. But what this is showing is our minor capital projects for 26, 27. So we have the 4 projects listed there. 2 HVAC upgrades, 1 electrical upgrade, and 1 plumbing upgrade. So what we are looking at here is for a bylaw to be read.
And I would like to offer that this is money that needs to be used for capital projects. This isn't money that could go towards
Yes, thank you for the clarity.
the budget that we just spoke of. Any questions? Trustee Meyer?
Is Trustee Beal online?
She is.
Oh, she told me she was reading it this time.
Okay, wonderful.
She volunteered.
Trustee
I
Beal?
didn't have to.
She's having an issue with sound, so. I'm not
Trustee
sure.
Meyer?
That's what I've been messaging.
That was her ploy the whole time. All right, capital bylaw number 2026-27, CPSD 52-01 capital plan 2026-27. Whereas in accordance with section 142 of the School Act, the Board of Education of School District number 52 Prince Rupert, herein after called the board, has submitted a capital plan to the Minister of Education. And the minister has approved the capital plan or has approved a capital plan with
Sorry, I'm gonna
modifications.
pause you. I believe you need a motion to have all 3 readings tonight before we
Can I
can
go
proceed.
start all over again?
No, we just personally.
I will do. Okay, I will make a motion to have all 3 readings read tonight, please.
Seconder to that motion, trustee Horn, wonderful, all in favor? So moved.
Starting from
As
now
you are.
therefore, in accordance with section 143 of the School Act, the board has prepared this capital bylaw and agrees to do the following. Did I read it all? No, I can skip to the bottom bit. Okay, read for the first time the 21st day of April 2026.
Seconder, trustee Horn, all in favor?
Read for a second time the 21st day of April 2026.
Seconded, trustee Horn, all in favor?
And read for a third time passed to the 21st day of April 2026.
Seconder,
Trustee
trustee.
Dalton,
Thank you, all in favor? Wonderful, so moved.
Please, when you're reading.
7.4, 26-27 annual facilities grant. Proposed spending, so that is on page 15 of your package. So the ministry is providing us with a total of 965,000 in regards to our AFG and facilities grant. Kevin has prepared that you are seeing here, so that on page 16 is the detailed listing. On page 15 is the general categories. And I'll leave it open for any questions that you have for Kevin. And for clarity again, this is specific to capital projects in terms of annual facilities grants. So like Kate was mentioning earlier, we don't have the flexibility to use these funds as we wish, so they cannot help us with our operating budget. Thank you.
Trustee Horn.
Thank you. Thank you, Kevin, and your department for work you've done putting this together. There's a lot of effort goes in and figuring out what things are going to cost and what needs to get done. There's a lot of work to be done. So thank you very much for the work you do.
And I would add that this is important as well. This is work that keeps our kids safe, that keeps our staff safe, and definitely needed. So, yes, thank you so much. Any questions for Kevin?
A motion. Just to submit that to the
So I'll make a motion to accept the annual facility grant. 2026-27.
Wonderful. Seconder, trustee Sanchez? Do you care to speak to that motion?
No.
All in favor? So moved. Thank you. 7.5.
7.5, March 2026 Operations Department Report, and that is on page 17 of your package. And again, Kevin is here to address any questions.
Please, trustee Meyer.
Do we have a date on when the commercial kitchen will be up and going? Kevin? Or close to?
No.
No.
I'm gonna be honest, I'm waiting for a electrical engineer for some schedules. It's quite complex. We have 3 different manufacturers there, and they all have to talk to each other to control the air, fire suppression. So they're still working. I've got the engineers working on that, so it's simple, but it's not. So I'm hoping to do some test cooking soon. We're gonna clean it up. We can turn the gas on, turn the power on, and we could use it right now if you wanted to, but we're just not, we don't have the exhaust capability yet. The coolers are up and running. I think we're gonna start putting some fish in there. And we're building racks, and so, no, I can't.
Okay. Yeah, no worries.
I'd like to
No worries.
try and
Perfect, thank you.
Kevin, would the bus be a big one or?
yes.
Trustee Horn?
Thank you. Thank you, Kevin, giving us an update on where we're at with kitchen. I'm glad to see that, we're gonna have a fish processing room that'll help us with all those things to do with the ocean where we have so abundance by us. Also, the fact that you're keeping your staff upgraded with WMS, so that's fantastic to hear. And of course, the bus, what trustee Sanchez talked about. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any further questions or comments? Thank you for your report, Kevin. 7.5.
7.6, March 2026 Information Technology Department Report. So that's on page 18 of your package, and Kinchin is also in the room to address any questions you have.
Thank you. Thank you, Kinchin, for the report from Jip. And you've gone through how you're updating, keeping us upgraded. And also the fact that you're assisting staff in support and helping them with when you do these upgrades. That's fantastic to hear. To do with also with the printing and the firmware, and how you worked on cost saving. As you can see from our budgeting, that cost saving is going to be a big issue for us. So thank you very much for doing your best to consolidate and ensuring we use the systems that we have. So thank you very much.
Any further questions or comments? Thank you very much. And thank you for your report. Thank you. Thank you. Committee reports, finance and building.
Nothing that we haven't covered already.
Wonderful. Framework for enhanced student learning, trustee one.
It's coming up in this meeting.
It is. Thank you. Provincial council, trustee one.
We held a meeting at AGM in Vancouver for budgeting of the BCSDA's budget. And that's basically the total of what we did at that meeting.
Thank you. Any questions for trustee one? Thank you. Policy committee, trustee Meyer.
Yes, so I would like to make a motion to approve policy 1440 and policy 3510. So diversity inclusion policy, and then 3510 is school closure policies. There were no remarks back from the public on them, so we're just putting them through as
Wonderful.
what's
Seconded,
presented.
trustee Horn. Thank you. Would you like to speak any further to that? Wonderful. There's a motion on the floor to approve these two policies. All in favor? All in favor?
You're good.
I'm just watching. Trustee Dalton or trustee Beal, if you're able to let me know if you're in favor.
Yes, I am.
Wonderful, thank you very much. So moved.
And then.
Sorry, Kate, my thing's not working. I was on mute. I'm in
Okay,
favor. Thank you.
Thank you.
So at our AGM, and I think all the trustees got our new board review for policy booklet in your mailboxes. BCSTA has worked to take districts that have, I think one district had something like 167 policies down to 20. And so a lot of the policies that we have that the policy committee is getting are actually supposed to be under regulations and not policy. So we drew out some of those instead of ones that are coming up now, we're going to put into regulations. So the policies that are listed, so 3210, energy conservation and environmental stewardship policy, 3220, building and grounds project policy, 3350, acceptable use of technology policy, 1610, field trip policy. You know, we just redid that one. 1380, anaphylactic policy, and 1370, physical restraint and seclusion policy. All of those, so we would like to delete these as policy and put them into regulation.
So I just have a question.
Yes.
Regarding the field trip policy, because my understanding is anything international or even out of province, the board needs to sign off on, correct?
Which would still be like a regulation, but it was one that the president of the SPCA. Other job. Yeah.
Plug.
You know what I mean? Came and said, oh, you guys even have a field trip policy. And so it should be under regulations that they need approval, but not under policy.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. So wishes are to
so I'd like to make a motion to remove those listed policies as policy and put under regulations.
a seconder for that.
I'll
motion?
second that.
Wonderful, thank you. Trustee Dalton, have you a question?
Yeah, my question is, this is just the start of reviewing the policies. There's going to be more that's going to be joining.
The request at the moment is that we are going through our policies and removing items that we have as policy, but shouldn't be a policy, they're a regulation. And so the motion on the floor currently is that we are removing these from our database of policy and they will be under a regulation. Okay.
I understood that. My question was, we're just beginning to work. There's going to be more that we'll be reviewing.
Definitely.
Definitely a lot. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. We're gonna be busy.
The current motion on the floor is to remove these as policy. And we have a seconder and all in favor?
Aye.
Wonderful. So moved. Thank you.
And that's everything for
Trustee
policy.
Beal was a seconder. Yeah, wonderful. Okay, great. And that's complete for policy committee?
Yes.
Wonderful, thanks. And nothing for other. And trustee Horn, the district technology steering committee?
We haven't sat since the last meeting.
Wonderful, thank you. Nothing for old business, and I think we decided we were gonna move that. And or else, no, maybe it was new business, since this whole agenda is new business. That would be perhaps. And then for information items, April 24th, this coming Friday, is a professional development day for our district. May 15th, we have a professional development day. Victoria Day is May 18th, and the next Board of Education meeting is May 19th. And items that aren't on information items that we want to share is kindergarten registration is ongoing. So if you have kindergartners starting to be kindergartners in September, or you know of little ones going to be kindergartners, please come out and get them registered. And I also would love to share that on Saturday, there's a community day at the Salt Marsh celebrating Earth Day from 12 to 3 for everybody.
Is that?
At the Salt Marsh, a community day for Earth Day. Wonderful. So we are now open for a 10-minute question and answer period, and I would remind everyone that questions are to be related to what's been covered in our agenda this evening. Please.
I'm just wondering if the cuts of 50,913 from the Indigenous education that was mentioned, if that is related to Smaliac 9 and First Nations Art 11 not being offered for next year, and elementary Smaliac class services getting cut.
What I can share with you is that the funding was put out for every single district to build a Indigenous education committee or council. Because many districts did not have something that we have. And so it was seed money for development, for training, and to actually get a table started. And it was when it was given, it was, or when it went into place, it was told this would be a 3-year funding to support the table. That money is only connected to the development of the table.
Okay, so it has nothing to do with.
Yeah. Any further questions?
Just in regard to budget kind of funding and allocation, how is a designated student support funding allocated in our district? How much goes directly to the student services versus administration? And what accountability measures are in place to ensure that students who are designated for the supports receive the supports intended for them? Are staffing shortages affecting the services, and how are families being informed, or how our district is addressing this?
Okay, it's a complex question. Can you go over the first part?
I'll use my son as an example. My son has a learning disability. He is designated dyslexic. He's got an EPA that isn't always followed because of lack of supports. He's also Indigenous, so there's money allocated for him. However, I'm being told all the time that there's budget cuts and money gets moved elsewhere. So if I'm making it personal, that's my question. But through Kate's lens of we're here for all of the children, I'm trying to make it broader. So the first part of the question is in regards to how is a designated student support funding allocated in our district? How much goes directly to the student versus administration, and what accountability measures are in place to ensure children receive the supports that are intended for them when you're in these deficits?
And so the money is all brought into the school district, and then it is rare to have money that is 100% solely directed to a student. It is for students. So it is not necessarily, we don't divide it up into administration. Administration comes from a separate budget, so none of it is allocated towards administration. The second part of your question, how is it allocated? It's allocated based on the needs of the student. So you'll have, for example, in schools, you have learning support teachers who will provide services. We also have specialist people such as speech language pathologists and occupational therapists who also provide support. The money is also spread out over the school psychologist, district school psychologist that we have position as well.
Your enrollment drop showed the different levels and the special needs with the funding allocation based off of that. That's where my question comes from, with another line showing all the different supports. So I guess as a parent, when I'm told that the budget cuts are why we don't have these services, is where that stems from in consideration.
Thank you. Please.
I wanted to thank you for the district's continued focus on improving student outcomes. I really appreciated the presentation tonight related to literacy, and it's clear that we have passionate and knowledgeable educators among us in our district who are really leading in this space. So I wanted to acknowledge that. And we heard a lot about some of the positive work that's being done to support our students, but with that in mind, I was reviewing the annual enhanced student learning report that's published was published on September 30th, 2024, and there are findings that suggest student outcomes related to literacy are much lower than the provincial average. And there is even language in the report that suggests this is a learning trend. Can you speak to how the district is allocating funding resources to address these gaps, and how you are ensuring those investments are having measurable impact across all schools and for our students?
Right, tonight, thank you, Madam Chair. Tonight was an example where we have a presentation about literacy with these three teachers, and there's a fourth who are in our elementary schools, which is our priority, working with teachers to develop their skills and also working with students to do those assessments.
Any further questions? Going once. As well as online. Going twice. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for coming this evening. Thank you. And for trustees online, we will be joining the other line to our other meeting.